All right, guys, welcome back. This is Two Brothers Outdoors. I'm Rick, and that is Tim. We are getting the mill ready to cut this hard maple into steaks. Now, you can see on the last video, we've already went through it this way. Well, it was laying like this. Now we stood it up, and what Tim will do is he's going to come down until we get a good flat spot on it, and then we're going to flip the whole mess over again and come back through it again at 1.25 inches. And he's going to go down 1.25 inches here as well. We're going to end up with some steaks that are 12 foot long. We're going to cut this in half to make 6-footers. Some are going to be 4 foot long. But we'll end up with a mess of steaks. And we're just going to have to see what we got. We were told by Hudson that there's a big market in steaks. And I believed it, but it was like, okay, well, how much of a market can there be in steaks? Well, last year we learned the hard way. There's a very good market in hardwood steaks, and it doesn't take very long to make them. Now, Hudson Forest Equipment has a very, very nice electric steak sharpener. I think it goes from 1 inch all the way to, I don't remember if it's 2.5 to 3 inch. It's a very, very nice steak sharpener. But Tim and I, we don't work around electricity, especially 220 volt. We're way out back, and we just don't have the electrical outfit to run 220 all the way out here from the houses. So we built our steak sharpeners on gas engines, which also work out very well. So swing by the Hudson website. That would be hudson.com, HUD-SON. Check out the steak sharpener. If you want to get into the steak business, they have a very nice steak sharpener. And theirs will go up, I think, to 3 inch, which is fence post size, if you ask me. We can go up to 1.5 inches. All right, he's making his first cut. This is just below the bark. We have the tractor set up here so we can put our offcuts on the forks. That makes it nice for cutting it up into firewood. And we're dealing with it as we're working with it. All right, I got to get the offcuts off of here, and I'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay, on the second pass, we've already ended up with 4 6-foot steaks. And every pass he makes now will end up with more. And we're going to end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a row of 10 steaks eventually. And when we get down to the row of 10 steaks, that'll actually be 20 because we're cutting them in half. We were almost 80 degrees today, guys. 75 yesterday and 72 the day before. I think the frost is out of the ground, so we got to deal with these blocks on this side. But this is supposed to have a nice day today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday the bottom's going to fall out. And we're supposed to get snow again. Can you believe that? Snow in April. As you can see, I'm separating the offcut from the good log. This is his last cut before we spin it. And what we're going to do, we're going to measure 6 feet 3 inches and cut this in half down to where he's stopped cutting with the blade. Okay, so this log is 12 foot 6 inches long. So Tim is going to measure 6'3", and he's going to put a mark on here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the chainsaw and we're going to cut it all the way down here where he made his last cut. And we're going to end up with some 6-footers, probably some 4-footers. We'll see how many we get here in just a minute. Okay, so we took a chainsaw and cut it down to the last cut he made with the blade. And we're going to end up with some garbage. We're going to end up with some good 6-foot stakes. Good stakes will go over here, and garbage will go on the back of the tractor. All right, so we did get a few 4-footers out of there, but most of those are 6-footers. We got 62 stakes total right there. And now we're going to roll this over as soon as I unlock this end and stack them the other way. Okay, we flipped the whole stack. He's going to work this down 1.25 inches at a time until it is all stakes. Unfortunately, this is a less than perfect log. We do have some knots in it, and it was a little bit rough on the outside. But like I said, we still got 62 good stakes there and plenty more coming. Okay, I cleaned off the offcuts. He's already made another pass in the time it took me to clean the offcuts off. Every pass after this is going to be stakes. Alright, so on our mills, we welded a piece of square tubing here and down there. That's so we could put a wooden stake in here as a backstop when you have bark like this one right here and the backstop is too low, so we can put a wooden stake in there for a backstop. Gonna go bang. Oh, it didn't. Alright, so you can see right here, that bottom piece got wane on it, bark, and it can't sit against the stop that's there. So we put that wooden stake in there to create a stop. Stop that the blade can go through. Okay, he is on his final cut. Looks like we're going to end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 120 stakes out of this batch right here. Maybe less, 2. I see 2 that's got wane on it right there. Maybe 3. So maybe 118, 117 stakes. Now there's going to be a few in there that have knots in them. They may end up 4-footers, or they may end up in the garbage pile. But right now as it stands, we got 120 stakes right there. And it's going to be less whatever ones we can't use. Alright guys, we ended up with 166-foot stakes and several 4-foot stakes. But by my best calculations, we're going to make about $380 off that log for an hour's worth of work cutting them up. And then we got to sharpen them. Takes us about 3 to 6 seconds for each stake to sharpen them. So that's not too bad. Alright, so there's the offcuts, and there's the stakes that had knots in them that broke. And that's all garbage. That's all firewood right there. Hard maple firewood. We'll take this tractor and run around the back over here. We'll cut it up into firewood right now. And then we're going to go cut up a cherry on my mill, and we'll sharpen these stakes tomorrow night. And we'll show you a little bit of that at the end of this video. Alright, we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We're going to sharpen the stakes tonight, and at the moment we got some oak and some cherry that has to be put in the crafter's box. So we're going to do that first, and then we're going to go over to sharpen stakes. said the tree was less than perfect and there was some knots, and unfortunately the stake that I'm trying to sharpen now has a knot right on the end, and what happened was a piece of that knot broke off, got stuck in the sharpener. So I'm going to have to shut the sharpener off, take a screwdriver and clean that piece of broken wood out of there before I can continue on sharpening stakes. Sometimes it gets aggravating. Wood that is not free is the absolute best, and that's what we prefer to mess with, but we have to use what we got right now. Well, you'd think I would take the cue and just toss this stake. No, I'm going to try to make it work one way or another, trying to break the knot off the end of it. And I stick it in the sharpener again, and guess what happens? Yep, another piece of wood broke off in the sharpener. You'd think I'd smarten up and just toss the stake and move on. But no, I can't let one single dollar slip through my fingers. And that is enough of that. Goodbye. Alright guys, we're going to leave it right here. We appreciate you guys coming along with us. Hit that subscription button if you're not a subscriber. If you're coming to us through a phone, hit that hype button. And of course, give us a thumbs up. Alright guys, we appreciate all you watching our videos. And until the next one, we'll catch you later. And as Tim would say, bye-bye now. But he's busy sharpening stakes. Alright guys, catch you later. Bye.